Richtig lesen means proper reading or how to read properly. I'll start with the presentation. Might take 40 minutes, might take 20 minutes. And by the way, I will actually take a break of the presentation from the presentation here and there to see whether things are okay. Yeah, I hope you're fine with that. So it will take roughly an hour. You can leave any time. As you have registered, you will get a link with the replay within 24 hours. And I will also upload this on YouTube. But you will not have the opportunity to ask me questions in person. Few words on who I am. I'm a language hacker, whatever that means. For me, that means that I love to take things apart and go to the ground of things until there's really no deeper place to find anymore. And then have a little experience, we say in German. So eureka moment. And put that all together in a completely new way, or not completely new, but in a very simple, comprehensible manner. And that's what I've been doing over the last 30 years for my own benefit first, but later on for everyone's benefit, as far as they wanted to learn German, of course. Used to be a German tutor in language schools, did integration courses, ESF courses, normal courses, intensive courses, less intensive course, did everything basically, one-on-one. And I had a love-hate relationship to that job until I quit. Then I started loving it because then I did my own thing. And I was teaching one-on-one mainly. And who would have thought I loved doing that? But at one point that also came to an end and I created an online course. I'm the father of a bilingual kid. That poor boy always has to be shown around. I'm so proud of him. Speaks 3 languages fluently, just picked it up by being exposed to a natural environment in which these languages were spoken naturally. Yeah, English, Polish, German, English being the 3rd language being spoken almost daily in my house and his mother's house. And it was quite inspirational to see that. He's lousy in spelling German, by the way, and Polish I haven't checked. So just because you have a German teacher father, it doesn't mean that your German writing is up to the normal standards. But these are things you can learn if you want to. I love psychology. I think I'll leave it at that. If you want to learn a language, you will be exposed to your mind. And psychology is basically the study of the mind, right? Among others. Now, I want you to read this. You might be a more advanced or intermediate German learner. You might already get that. But I just wanted to give you a little feeling for what 50% understanding feels like. And I replaced all the words that you don't know yet with the beautiful German word Schnaps. Look it up if you have to. Try to read the white stuff. I give you just 20 seconds. It's more than enough because there's not much information on here. But I think you get the idea. Yeah, 50% understanding could feel better depending on the words. I actually haven't prepared a slide where I just blended out these words and left the important words. But this is really what it feels like if you as a beginner pick up a book that you're not ready for. I keep saying that is enough, but I will show you why I say that now. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's assume you understand 75%. These are 100 words, and of which 25 are Schnaps. So try to read this. I give you a few seconds again. A bit better, and yet still something is missing. And if I did this in German, I wouldn't know, you're on different levels. So I chose to do this in English because it's very insightful. Yeah. Now, next level. 80%. The yellow words I added, a bit inconsistent with the bold words. I read with you, so when I'm done reading this, I assume you're also done reading this. So you already get a small gist of what's happening here. The problem is you're already at 80% understanding. Yeah, you need to understand 80 words of 100 in order to make sense of this. It's also a couple of repetitive words here. So let's hit it to 85. Another minute for you. We go to up to 100, but only 2 more. And every time it should be faster for you to read. And at the end, you will get a special offer for German Schnaps, yeah, my own brand. This is so-called priming. So pay attention to the pink words. Okay, and one more. 90% understanding. And you see there's only 10 words missing, and you possibly get the main story. Maybe you focus on the yellow words and see. Yeah. I worked through this text with you tonight, also in German. Okay, last step, 95%. I removed all the clutter. It's only 5 words now that are missing. I highlighted the missing sentences. Maybe you just read those 5. It was a wonderful Monday Schnaps in Berlin. So what could that mean? The sun was Schnaps brightly. Simone founded a detective Schnaps. Simone and Stefan solved Schnaps cases. She was very Schnaps. Yeah, and you see there's a different level of understanding, because there's certain things you can deduct and certain things you can't. Now, this is the full text. I give you 30 seconds to read this, but what I wanted to show with this slide is also actually, let me let you read this first. It matters a lot how you actually structure a text. Alone, the fact that I put 1 sentence per line makes this text so much easier to work with. And this is, of course, what I do in my courses, except in the higher courses where you actually have to prepare with the kind of texts you saw before. Yeah. So now you've learned about Simone and Stefan. I've primed you with a story. That's also something that will be part of this presentation. Now, this is a beautiful German proverb. Ordnung ist das halbe Leben. Order makes half of life. Whatever that means in English. Translation is, of course, very literal here, because I don't know the proverb. Proverbs are advanced level, and I'm not too interested in it, except when they are German. Now, what really matters is that you understand things at one point at least. And we call this comprehensible input, or CI for design reasons here. And I understand comprehensible input as something that is happening ultimately. Throughout the process, you understand more and more, and you comprehend what you're exposed to. Not that everything you read right away is clear to you. So you don't need a text that you already understand 95% of. That would be a waste of time, unless you, of course, like reading that story. But why? You can start with a text that you understand maybe 70% or 50%, maybe even 0%. Let's see. As long as you get the feeling that every time you touch that text, you actually get more and more. Actually, I don't make these. And I hope I can illustrate what I mean today. So a dictionary is very helpful as long as your comprehension is below 80%. Yeah, you saw maybe that, or remember that the moment you reach 80% comprehension, it kind of made sense. And to get to 80%, you of course need to learn these words. And how to use a dictionary when reading, give me a minute for that. Context usually sets in after you get to the 80% threshold. Yeah, if you get half of it, and if you look at the first slide again, let me here 50%. Here, if I tell you deduct the meaning of any of the Schnapses from context, there is no chance on earth that you will actually manage to do that. You see something that someone is happily singing on the So you could guess maybe someone is singing, but who could that be? The choir could be the neighbor, could also be the birds, as you know. So context is helpful when there is already a base understanding, and then there is additional context which is provided, for example, when you watch a series or movies in German, and then you use the subtitles to figure things out that are not very easy to understand. Yeah, pictures always provide a lot of context if they are used in the right way. What you see in tools like Rosetta Stone or Bubble, that's not supportive context. That's actually taking away the whole thing from you. They didn't get that. I don't know why, what went wrong there, but just showing a boy drinking milk and then you ask who is drinking milk, yeah, and you have to click the picture. All you need to understand is milk. That is not supportive context. It's nonsense. Now, what do I mean by context? Well, if you take a look at this text here, also in English, so you get the message, but you do this automatically in German, and you can train this skill to figure things out. And this is what I aim at with anything I create. So try to read this text. I know it's not the easiest font to read, but I have trust in you. And after that, maybe type in the chat what you think this text is about. Yeah, do these exercises. Don't just sit there, lean back and consume. It's really important you actively make the effort to get this point, because it is, unless you already are familiar with all these concepts, it is, it might be a game changer for you. So type in the chat what you think this is. I'll look at it later. Yeah. 10 seconds. Okay. Now, if I give you the context of this text, it's getting easier. The context is what is a washing machine? Now, is there any chance that you can figure out what the Schnapses mean? Try to come up with the words and type them in the chat. What does the Schnaps stand for? Schnaps 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Five words. Try to guess them. Yeah, I would sing a song, like an elevator song in the background, but I'm lousy at singing. So. Yeah. Okay. Later, when you watch this, you can also push the pause button until you get these 5 words and write them down. Now, here they are. You know, it's about washing machine, so the words are related to washing. Laundry, wash, lint is the fluffy stuff, and socks, of course. So knowing what this is about already provides you with a little support, actually quite a lot of support. Now, this is a text I've taken from an unpublished course of mine, which is for A1 level. I will use this for A1. And you might see it's not necessarily the simplest of text, because it doesn't have to be. And here's a few strategies for you to deal with any text out there. And keep in mind, this is just a masterclass. I have 40 minutes to present something that actually takes a couple of weeks for you to feel familiar with. I teach all these techniques in my courses, and yeah, so that everything comes to you bit by bit, piece by piece, because my aim is to enable you to become an autonomous learner. I don't just want to feed you and entertain you and want you to consume things. I want you to work, yeah, because that's the only way that you will become independent and will actually enjoy your learning process in the long run. Now, if I look at similarities, maybe you can see words here that you already know. I walk you through a few. Well, ist, if you are an English speaker, which I assume, Ist looks like is in English, so I can assume, oh, is Monday, Montag. That's also doable. So is Monday, so maybe it is Monday in Berlin. You got the first sentence. There is not much more information there. Schöner and Morgen we look at later. So son could be my son, but it's not about a boy. So we're talking about a Monday. And shined, if you hear it, it sounds like shinen, to shine. So what is shining? My sun is not shining, for sure not, but the sun with the U is shining. So you play around a little bit with the O and see what it could be. Simone Tesch, you hopefully recognize that Simone is a first name. If you're Italian, you might think it's a man, but the rest of the world might think it is a woman, which it is in German. Tesch is very likely then your family name. Bureau, you know, Federal Bureau of Investigations, right? So it's a bureau, it's an office, it's an agency, it could be an agency, but office agency, good enough for me. So Simone Tesch has something to do with an agency or with an office. Gibt, you will learn the B in German is a V in English, and so on. So in my courses, I would teach you how to recognize such words. And these words make already 46% of the text. So, you know, aim is to reach a percentage from which onwards we can read the text and enjoy it. And we are already at 46 if we know how to decipher, how to make the connection between the German word and the English word. And that's a beautiful discovery. It's actually very enjoyable. Yeah, of course, at this point, you still have very little understanding. There is false friends, like if you look in line 3 at the end as gibt. So it has nothing to do with to give here. I'll look at that sentence later on again. And here, down here in the second to last line in the middle, so ein Mist. This mist, of course, has nothing to do with the mist in London. That's so popular. It's actually the opposite. It is something very smelly. It's manure. But you learn with these, yeah? And if you realize you make that mistake once, you go to Germany and it's misty and you say, oh, so ein Mist. And then people will ask, what's wrong? Yeah, yeah. And you just wanted to say something nice about the mist. Good. Next thing you look at is context. So once you have a little bit of information, maybe you can figure something out. So it's a Monday, and then you have morgen, and somehow more reminds you of morning. There's a G in there as well. So Monday, a word that is connected to Monday or any day, morning makes perfect sense. Well, the Bäumen you can ignore, that makes no sense. But Simone is Privatdetektivin, so private detective. So Simone is a private detective von Beruf, and you might have heard Beruf before, but by trade, by profession. Yeah, that's something you could figure out. And as you know, she's a private detective. You see in the fourth line from the bottom, Simone and Stefan, they do something. So what do they do? Yeah, maybe, you know, if they are private detectives, they are working on cases. Whether you see Fall, you might have seen Fall in your German classes because nominative, dative, or accusative, genitive, these are Fälle as well, also cases. So all these things you can figure out. Yeah, and of course you need more time and you need a bit of guidance, which is what I am there for. The next important step is patience. Yeah, and that's the hardest for many because our minds always want to understand everything right away. And that causes trouble because you will be frustrated because it will not happen anytime soon. So you need to refrain from looking up words immediately. You actually have to work with the text. Like you have to work it like a dough. You have to really net it, yeah? So it gets really nice, smooth. You read the text 2 to 3 times. Yeah, in smarterGerman, you possibly even read it more often, but in different ways. So it doesn't get boring. But it's not done by just reading a page once. This is work. You're learning a language. It's not for joy. The joy is a positive side effect if you do it right. And the moment you actually are allowed to look words up, I strongly suggest you limit the number of words you look up. Let's say you read Harry Potter in German because you know it inside out. Some people say they don't want to do that because they know Harry Potter inside out and then they already guess what everything means. Depends a little bit on your level. You can also take a completely new book, but limit the number of words you look up to 5 or 7. Because if you look up 20 words in a dictionary, hopefully it's not a paper dictionary, it gets boring. And just looking words up also makes things difficult, because what do you do with the looked up words? You can just look them up, but then you find yourself maybe looking up the same word again and again and again. So better have a system for looking words up. And I show you a beautiful tool later and promise you an even better tool after that. So stay tuned. If you look something up, the most important part of every text or sentence is the verb. Not always, but in 90 to 95% of the cases. The verb gives away what's happening. And first thing, if you come into a room and the mood is down, you ask what happened. Not who are you, unless it's a person there who you haven't seen before. So the verbs are important, and you can figure out what the verbs are with a bit of experience by looking at the endings and the position, for example. Yeah. Well, here with switch on, that's a bit tricky, but switch on, funny enough, if you read it almost from the right to the left, it gets twit. Yeah, twitcher, something like that. It even sounds like twitch. Well, the Z is a T. So it is Twitter to Twitter. That's where it comes from. And who is twittering in this world? Not Donald Trump in animal world. Yeah. So the birds. So you would expect the birds to appear somewhere, and very likely you have already found it. So verbs are key words. And there's, of course, other words that might be left that you still want to look up. So if you looked up the yellow words and the other ones, we would have 12 words to look up. It's quite a lot. I'm not sure whether I would look up the keywords in this, because Vögel you can figure out from context, and the rest is not that important. You do not need to understand every single word, and you do not need to remember everything you look up. Now, of course, you want to improve your skills, and you want to read with less effort and struggle, and that requires that you train. All these words that you figure out here, the ones you figure out easily, like Morgen, you will not forget that. Guten Morgen, if you're in Germany, you hear that every day. Yeah, that's something I wouldn't even bother with learning anymore. But let's say you want to learn Beruf, because there's many words with Beruf in German, and it's not an easy word to remember necessarily. Or Fleck in the third last line at the end, Kaffeefleck, it's green. So you need to have a system to actually memorize that. And the best system out there is using, for now, is using a vocab trainer together with, of course, a thought-through approach to language learning, which smarterGerman provides at least. And a vocab trainer could be Memrise, could be Anki. There's many of those, and I will let you know why Memrise is my favorite for now. Yeah, in a minute. Vocab trainers have an advantage that they take care of repetition. Don't write vocabulary in a notebook anymore or on paper flashcards. Please don't. Yeah, it was good before the computer existed, but now it exists. As I said before, try to focus on the verbs, because they already let you know what's happening, and that puts you at ease. If you know what's happening, the rest you figure out as you go. And you see here, there is a couple of frequent words. I've highlighted them, yellow, red, and 5 words here. Ein, sie, das, es, sie, ihr. Das, of course, is representative for die and den and das. Yeah, so let's see it like this, because the translation is always the same. It's always the. So if you learn these 5 words, let's say it's 5, you already knows 57% of the text. In addition to the 40-something% we have from the beginning, yeah, we are already 90, we are over 100%. So it's very likely an overlap here. But you see how easy it is to at least get the frequent words out of the way. But what I mean by this is not that you learn a list of the top 1,000 most frequent words in German. While that seems a logical approach, it's rather not, because there's downsides to that. We can talk about this in the Q&A. Yeah, this is not what I mean. You look at a text and you see what are the words that come again and again. And those are the interesting ones. And once you've learned them on the next page, I'm pretty sure that these words will appear in a similar frequency. Now then there is sentences like this one, es gibt viel zu tun. You try to translate it, you look it up, like every word of it, yeah? It gives a lot to do. You might get that, yeah? Because I've heard that, I think in England or in the States, they say, hey, what gives? Yeah, but that's very colloquial, you might not be familiar with it. So, and what this means here, you look it up maybe, there is a lot to do. So es gibt means there is, and it takes a little bit for you to take this in because you cannot directly make sense of it. But you see it a few more times, you might be able to get this. But by letting go, I simply mean, accept that certain constructions, or yeah, construction is the best word for it, take time. And that means don't force things. Use a notebook, which I call the mind-pleasing notebook, in which you write these difficult constructions or difficult words. Let's say Beruf is something that really doesn't get into your head. And then you have it in your notebook and your mind is at ease. Yes, I've taken care of it. It's somewhere in the notebook. I can look it up anytime, even though you don't have to do this at all. But maybe you look it up in a month and you see, es gibt, God, so easy. And initially you thought, I'm never going to get that. Your comprehension will increase as you go, if you let go. And it's one of the hardest things to do because, yeah. So useful tools. I said there is a couple of beautiful tools out there. One is Memrise, and the SRS stands for Spaced Repetition System. So whether you like Memrise and use it or not, I don't care. Whatever you use needs to use a spaced repetition system, which is a very simple idea. It's a box of 5 or 6 compartments, and the first compartment is where you put all the new words you look at today. And once you look at them and you guess them right, then they come into the second one. The second one you check every other day. Yeah, so the second one gets fuller and fuller. And once you check the second one and you get it right, it goes into the next compartment where you put the words that you will review in 7 days, and so on and so on. A month, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. So Memrise does this excellently, and you can also on Memrise sort out the words that are so easy for you that you don't really want to bother having them in that little box. And it's a virtual box, so it doesn't take any space. It's the so-called Leitner-Principle. You can look that up. Leitner, like Leitner. But you will find that if you look up SRS vocabulary. And I love Memrise. I'll show you in a minute for its simplicity. ReadLang is a wonderful software made by a very engaged young man who, I'm not sure who he works for, either Duolingo or Memrise. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to further work on ReadLang. So I decided to create my own version of ReadLang, where I eliminate all the unnecessary stuff and also tailor it to smarterGerman's needs. Yeah, ReadLang allows you to work with any text on the internet and also many, many other languages. I'm not interested in other languages. I'm interested in German. I can't show you anything yet. We are not there yet. It's halfway ready, but we are getting there. But until then, you can use ReadLang. It's very affordable, $5 a month, but you can also try it for free for a while. But it's really totally worth the money. If you work with my course, you do not necessarily need it, but maybe it appeals to you and you want to try it. smarterGerman is, of course, a very useful tool. So my courses make use of Memrise. We use that still, but ReadLang we don't make use of, but I will soon have a tool that makes them both redundant and is fully integrated into all of my courses. But give us another 3 months. Now let's take a look at Memrise quickly. Memrise is a one-click solution. There's many things to click on, but actually the only button you need to click on a desktop, but also on a mobile, there's one button that says review or learn or speed review. You just click on that and then it shows you the right thing. Either you learn a word, and here I gave you an example of a multiple choice task, and it just looks beautiful. On a computer, you just click a couple of buttons. It's very fast, very intuitive, beautifully designed. And it comes with audio, of course, which here I have recorded. Yeah. And you see here, that's an exercise where you hear the audio and you have to decide what you have heard. Also very lovely. Another exercise there is a little transcription exercise. You hear something, you type it. There's many different variants of these two exercises, but it's mainly multiple choice and, of course, transcription or writing. And it's a beautiful software. And you see it's a beta version, so it looks much smoother than normally, but basically that covers it. ReadLang, though, looks like this. So I uploaded the text we just talked about. ReadLang allows you to upload any text privately there. If you upload my text there publicly, you get into trouble because the texts are all copyrighted. And you cannot, it's not only with my text, with any text there. So if you upload any text there, be careful that you honor the copyright of anything that you upload there, because they also allow you to share. But if you do it privately, like in this window, you can work through the text and you can highlight individual parts or full sentences. I always took full sentences. And it will give you a proper translation, very likely connected to Google Translate. You can also connect it to other dictionaries. If you just look up one word, a single word, you might get a different meaning. Yeah, let's say scheinen means it seems. The first translation would always be to shine. But let's say it also means to seem. So you wouldn't say the sun seems. It's very unlikely that that makes sense. But the moment you highlight die Sonne scheint as a combination, yeah, it's something that belongs together. This software will give you the proper translation, which is a gift. It's beautiful. But it doesn't only do that. Any word you highlight here or any sentence you highlight here, it will copy automatically into your word list, and you can practice these words in your word list with this little vocabulary trainer. Unfortunately, it's rather basic, and yeah, we will do this a little bit more appealing to the eye and the soul, but it does the job. And you see also they give you an example here on top. It says Simone. They give you the sentence in which you have highlighted it, and that's perfect. The only thing that's missing, well, there is an audio button here. It wouldn't read the whole sentence, but you can't have it all. But as you took it from my course, in my course, you will always get the full audio, of course. Yeah, but and for vocabulary training, you don't need more than this. It's beautiful. So ReadLang is a very smooth tool. Don't get lost in all this stuff here, but you can also use it as an extension of your browser, and it is a wonderful tool to really personalize your learning, which is why I took the idea and adapted it to our needs. As it takes time for you to get from 0 to 95 to 100% understanding, it's important that you stay motivated. And that means you need to work with interesting texts. If you read text made for 2-year-olds, yeah, do dada, then very likely your intellect might get bored. You might still get a little thrill out of it if you understand a single word, like schnulli, pacifier, but it's too little outcome for too much input. So see that you work with stuff that you are actually interested in and keep it real, bitte, yeah, because there's stuff that you are not ready for yet. But I think you learn that fast. It needs to be comprehensible over time. So there needs to be at least a certain amount of information in that text that you get. If you read a text that you completely don't get and have to look up every word to make sense, this is not a text to start with. Very simple. You need to experience progress, as I said. every time you come back to the text, or you keep reading, let's say, a story, and you see, oh, gradually I'm getting more and more of the story, because of course you also know more of the story and the characters. That also helps. You have more context. That's very important. If you feel you read every page like it's the first one, it's the wrong text. And you need intelligent exercises. The words you learn, you need to remember. So memorize takes care of that to an extent. It can get boring after a while because it's basically vocab training. It's very monotonous. You really have to distribute it all over the day. At least I have to do that, and I recommend you do the same out of didactical reasons. But ideally, you work with the text on many, many levels. Yeah, because that way you have access to the words from every angle possible. And of course, that's what we do at smarterGerman. The most important thing in language learning is mindset. People might say motivation, but motivation strongly depends on mindset. And what that means, let me explain to you. Or let me talk a little bit about mindset. What that means, I think, is pretty clear. We have recently published a course on smarterGerman that a friend of mine has created. Stevie, wonderful young man. I'm not sure how young he is, just younger than me. And he's a life coach. And he's working with techniques that help you to look at obstacles. And obstacles is what you will all experience when you pursue the goal of becoming fluent in German, because it's a long process. It takes half a year to get to a certain level, another half a year to get even higher, and maybe 2 years to feel finally at ease with everything if you continuously work with it. Yeah, other people need 5 years. It's fine. It depends on how much time you have every day. So the first thing to make these, let's say, 2 years on average, and I would say bearable and enjoyable even, is that you are clear about the goals. If you are not clear about your goals, you are driving on unknown goals. Yeah, you always have a goal. You just don't know it. So it's actually very helpful to get them out into the open and to look at, what am I actually doing here? Some of you might not want to do that. It's a conscious decision not to set goals. Totally accept that, and my respect. You don't have to, but it doesn't mean that clarifying your goals will harm your process. Yeah, so maybe consider that. I also, of course, do that. Encourage you to do so in the course. So the course I'm talking about will help you clarify your goals, and while you do so, you will figure out, okay, what could get in my way? Yeah, you kind of make a little analysis to see, to look at your life. Okay, what is problematic, or what could become problematic at one point? And this is not about scaremongering. It's really about being realistic and say, okay, I have 2 kids, busy job, COVID is raging in my country. Let's expect there is something. I'm worried that I will be able to put in the amount of work that I think I should invest. And this is a mental blockage. Yeah, worry is a very strong blockage that, you know, has its reasons, but maybe you can overcome that or work with it. So what you do then is you dissolve these blockages. You don't dissolve COVID by doing the course, but you will dissolve the worry, or you will actually learn to handle worry so that it is not an obstacle anymore. And once you've done that, you're ready to actually look at your mindset. And the mindset is basically a strong belief that you cannot fail. I actually want to say you cannot feel, but I hope you feel a lot. You cannot fail. It sounds unrealistic, right? Who cannot fail? But this is not about being Superman, yeah, or Superwoman. This is really about, my mindset is, no, if I do this and that, I cannot fail. And that's, of course, not done once and then you're off for success. Otherwise, I think there would be way more successful people in the world. And I don't think that everybody who's successful necessarily does that. But once you are in that mindset, you execute your plan, yeah, your goals, you go towards them, and you adjust it whenever it's needed. Because you will always have to adapt your plans to reality. Reality wouldn't budge or bulge to your plans. You need to adapt to that. And it is constant work, and it requires a strategy and techniques that support you on that path. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to your mindset and maintain it. And this course is a gift. I'm so happy I met Stevie and he created this for us, that I offer it to you for half the price if you are a smarter German learner, because I waive my share. I don't care. I don't want to make money with it. I want you to finish my course. And this training will actually make sure that this happens. So with anything you do with Smarter German, whether it's my language courses or that course, you get a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. That means if within the first 30 days you feel this is not for me, I made a mistake, reach out to me, ask for your money back. Ideally, if you struggle with something, just reach out to me. I can help you with anything learning related, course related, anything. If you have to get your money back because your life goes in a completely different direction, then there's nothing I can do other than giving you your money back. Yeah, and I'll do so instantly, unless I'm knocked out. Yeah. So with anything you do in Smarter German, there is absolutely no risk. You can try everything, and I'm always here to help you get on board. That's my promise to you, because that's what I would like to see. So if you take a picture of this, you get to the first lesson of my Everyday German course, which covers 3 levels, A1, A2, B1. And there you can just experience how Smarter German works. And I'm constantly optimizing that course, making it more comprehensible and digestible, while even increasing the quality of the outcome. Yeah, because it's just my hobby. It's what I do with passion. So I'm through the presentation. Thank you for staying. Hopefully, I'll check in a second. If you have any questions, let me know, and we can take it from here.